Time for our second hour roundtable on Ladies Can We Talk with Debbie Georgatos. More talking truth about America.
And welcome back to Ladies Can We Talk. Thanks so much for tuning in. We have a guest on with us at the top of this second hour. First, I want to say my leading ladies tonight here are Chris Davis and Dorinda Randall. And we have a guest with us tonight, Charlotte Hayes. She's been on the show before. She is the Director of Cultural Programs at the Independent Women's Forum, and she's also the author of numerous books, including Lean Together. She's also very accomplished, has been appeared on many on PBS and C-SPAN, and she's really quite an accomplished correspondent on behalf of Independent Women's Forum. So I wanted to have you start, Charlotte. And first of all, hi.
Hi, how are you? What a build-up. I hope I can live up to it.
I have no doubt. But I would love to have you tell our listeners, I've certainly mentioned Independent Women's Forum before, but why don't you tell them a little bit about what Independent Women's Forum is?
Well, we are a conservative-leaning women's group. We're one of the main groups that debunk this phony idea that there's a war on women being waged by Republicans. We're very much in favor of the free market. We believe in personal responsibility and independence, and we're a great group, and you can find us at IWF.org. We have a terrific, funny blog, sometimes funny, sometimes serious. Every day it's new.
I love it. I will tell our listeners, I often mention preparing for this show, there are so many stories and things going on in America. I only have 2 hours a week, so sometimes it's hard to decide what to hone down and talk about, but I always check your website every week because it is full of just kind of different stories, and they're just very logically argued but and presented, and so I just really appreciate the substance and depth that's on your website. But the reason I wanted to have you on tonight was you had something up that I thought was just interesting in this year of Hillary running for president. Yeah. And the left trying to get women on board to vote Democrat. You had up something talking about San Francisco's paid parental leave. They have a new required paid parental leave policy in San Francisco that goes to provide workers essentially to make up the difference. It's mandated for employers to pay parental leave. So sounds like a great deal for women who have a baby. So how come you guys don't like it?
Well, it's going to benefit some people, and but it's not going to benefit a lot of people. Look, San Francisco became the first city in the nation to mandate that businesses provide fully paid leave for employees following the birth of adoption of a child. Look, we hope that everybody can take off following the birth of or adoption of a child. California already offers a government system to provide workers with 55% of what they earn during 6 weeks of leave time. Now it will require the other regular employers to make up the other 25 or more, to make up the rest of that if they have 20 or more employees. Okay, that sounds great, but I'm going to tell you what it's going to do. It makes it more expensive to hire somebody. So businesses are going to say, gee, can I hire this person? They may take 6 weeks off, and I can't afford to pay them. Look, if a business can afford to pay them, I think that's great, but not all businesses can afford to pay them. Maybe a lot of people in Silicon Valley can, maybe Google can, but there are businesses that cannot afford this. So basically, it's going to keep businesses from hiring people in order to make up for these benefits. I'm sure some people will lose their jobs, and it basically keeps businesses small. We've got Obamacare that says if you employ more than 50 people, you have to have all these benefits. Now San Francisco has a law that says if you have 20 or more employees, you have to supply this. What that's going to do is keep businesses small because, look, you can't wave a magic wand and say to somebody, you've got to give somebody 6 weeks off. Jobs are real. Businesses have real needs, and some of them can't afford that. So it's going to lead to higher unemployment. And Debbie, I can't imagine why people don't see, after all of these sort of regulations and rules for the last 7 years, we have a sluggish economy. This is hurting people.
Absolutely. You know, I just love, often in the Independent Women's Forum blog on many subjects, you and the other writers go to the point that really employers and employees are the best people to figure out a flexible plan that would work in your context. And so I think that's one of the reasons this kind of undermines the ability of employers and employees to work out these kind of situations.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But it hamstrings both sides. I mean, maybe maybe I'm going to adopt a baby or have a child, and I don't want 6 weeks leave. What I really want is a raise. I'm not going to get it if I have the six weeks mandatory leave because the employer's already spent the money on that. Let people decide on their own.
I love that. And plus, I love it. We're getting close when we have to go off to a break. But I also just love the idea that it's part of the free market competition for employers to think, what's the smartest thing to do? What kind of employer do I want to be? Do I want to be the kind that, just we make oodles of money, we can provide everything to everybody, or do I want to be the kind? It allows employers to define their niche within their market, within their world, and then find out what kind of employees they get as a consequence of their policies. But this just kind of takes it all away. We do have to go off to a break. Charlotte, you can hold on during the break, right?
Sure.
And welcome back to Ladies Can We Talk. We're talking tonight with Charlotte Hayes. I'm so glad we got her to join us tonight. She's with the Independent Women's Forum, which is a great website, IWF.org, full of great ideas and just great research. And you guys at IWF just put out the most amazing thing that I came across on your website very recently, and you're calling it Working for Women, a Modern Agenda for Improving Women's Lives. And why it's cool is because part of what conservatism and all aspects of conservatism is we always try to say we need to find private sector ways to solve problems. We don't need to have every problem solved by a federal program, a federal mandate, a new tax, or new, as we were just talking about before the break, a new mandate in San Francisco that the employers now must pay a parental leave for people when they have a baby or adopt a baby, that they're required to pay it. It's just another meddling of the government in the market. But so this is just a brilliant idea. And I will remind you, Charlotte, I have in the second hour my roundtable buddies, Chris and Dorinda here. We've all been poring over this, and I think everybody has questions. Dorinda, I don't know if you had one first, or do you want me to roll?
I had one on Social Security, which is excellent, by the way. I am so sorry, I wasn't quite ready. But I really like how you talk about already payroll taxes collected are not enough to cover the payments, and that imbalance will become worse with each passing year. And it's really bizarre to me that we do see that this is what's going on. We all know that it's there. How do you get the policymakers to listen to this brilliant plan that you have?
Well, listen, if somebody doesn't listen to this plan or reform Social Security, we're not going to have Social Security.
Right.
A lot of the ideas of the left are based on this sort of notion. I think they sort of believe that you can make some regulations and wave a magic wand, and presto, you can have anything you want. We just talked about a San Francisco mandated paid leave. Well, ultimately, a lot of people are not going to have jobs because of that. So we've got to reform Social Security. It's just absolutely essential. And we're not saying, that we're against Social Security. We're saying you got to reform it. And one of the ways you can do that is simply to raise the age at which people collect Social Security.
Right.
That if you do that, you will actually extend the life of Social Security for a long time. And really, do you think that people should retire so early? I mean, we have people who live on Social Security for like 30 or 40 years. When it was instituted, the life expectancy was much, much lower than it is now. We need to adjust Social Security for the really good news that people live longer.
Right.
I love that point. This whole program, I will tell our listeners again, we're speaking with Charlotte Hayes of the Independent Women's Forum, and they are a brilliant think tank. Y'all are based in Washington, right?
We are based in Washington, but we have some fellows who are not in Washington.
Okay, so anyway, this new thing they have is Working for Women, a modern agenda for improving women's lives. And the one reason I really like it is because conservatives are always making the point that we have to try to stop government from running everything and making a new policy and issuing new regulations, but we need to be, on the conservative side, coming up with answers that address challenges we face so that we have alternatives instead of just, because otherwise the left is saying, oh, we'll solve that. We'll tax it. We'll control it. Yeah. They can always find a government solution.
Right. Well, the one thing, Working for Women puts forward some proposals that are common sense, such as reforming the tax code to reduce burdens on families. It's important to fix the tax code so that a family doesn't suffer a penalty, a married family, if both parties work. Currently, the second income is just taxed exorbitantly. And we also, look, parents need to work sometimes, and they know where they want to leave their kids in daycare. They are the best people to evaluate what works for them. But currently you have all of these really, really stringent daycare regulations that basically make it unaffordable. Let's reduce some of these regulations. Let's let parents decide. Parents aren't going to take their kids to a daycare that they think, gee, terrible things will happen to my kids here.
Hey, Charlotte, this is Chris. And one thing I liked about your report is basically you advocate for a strong economy that does give us that flexibility because it makes more jobs available. One size does not fit all. And, things like women are different. Some compensation may be what drives them. Others, it may be flex time and being able to have time with their children. And the policies that your group advocates seem much more desirable in helping women be the women that they are.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you, a cornerstone of what we advocate is people get to keep their own resources and more of what they earn. And I mean, look, let me use this as an example. We just talked about mandatory paid leave in San Francisco. Okay, we have a paid leave idea. It's called personal care accounts. Make it easier for people to save. But here's the problem. Some of IWF's proposals are rhetorically harder to sell than the ones Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders advocate. They would work better for women and families, but they don't grab you like the offer of something for free. For example, it's a lot sexier to say, I'm going to wave my magic regulation wand, and your employer is going to have to give you 6 weeks off. It's not as sexy to say we're going to figure out a way where you can save some money and have this. By the way, if you don't spend it by the time you end your career, you get it it works like an IRA. But here's the other thing. Our program, Personal Care Accounts, it's not going to make it more expensive for employers to hire people. It's not going to, in effect, end jobs. Here's the thing about mandatory pay leave. Do you know what you have to have before you can have leave? A job.
Yeah. That's a basic. Yeah, absolutely. I love, it's funny because we've all been reading this thing, and what you pounced on, the personal care accounts, that's exactly what I wanted to say. But Charlotte, your point is really important. It is so much easier. It's what happens in politics all the time. It's so much easier to hear Bernie Sanders say, how about free college, than to talk about what you have in play, what you guys have proposed in this fabulous document that was encouraging saving for education. I can't find it fast enough. But encouraging people to save for education earlier in life, encouraging saving for early and lifetime education. I mean, these are just, they're not as sexy, but man, they're just more freedom supporting.
Well, yeah, we believe that you can make the choices, and I hate to be churlish, but I don't want Bernie to make free college, because that'll mean I pay for college for people I don't even know and don't even know whether or not they're worthy of college education.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Bernie loves spending other people's money. And, the deal is the restrictions and the way they tie the hands of small business. I read in your article about, what it costs per hour to fulfill their regulations, or what percentage, how it's increased from 30.3% of per total employee to 31.5% of what businesses are having to spend to fulfill these regulations. That's money that could go back into the people's pockets.
Yes, absolutely.
This is such a great plan. This is Dorinda. And the one thing that we all noticed with the Republicans, with conservatives, is that we like to explain to people. We respect people having a mind, and that we think that we can actually talk to them, tell them our points, and actually explain why we feel the way we do. The problem is you're dealing with a society that types in 140 characters or less, and that's how they get their sound bites, and that title alone seems to be what motivates them to think that the Democrats are going to give them everything that they want. I mean, how do you guys get out there and sell this?
Well, look, we just keep selling it. We do things like this. I think we're making progress. Look, Equal Pay Day was last week. It's Hillary's favorite holiday, and it's built on misleading figures. They say that there's a 79-cent wage gap. Factor in women's choices, and it almost disappears. Now, we have made a real inroad into this. One White House an economic aide had to admit, I think last year before, that the figure is bogus. The American Association of University Women, which has put out a sort of misleading document, but they put out a document several years ago that in the executive summary had the wage gap at about 80 cents. But if you read into the whole document, the wage gap became 6 cents by the end when you factored all of these choices in. But they will not give up this. It's too valuable. So we just have to keep opposing them and have to saying it. Look, we'll have Equal Pay Day next year, and they'll cite the same bogus figure. We just have to fight it.
I love your message about keep on fighting. And I also like IWF you do testify before Congress, right? You try to get these proposals before.
Yeah, we're often invited to.
Yeah. We're getting up to our break. We're speaking tonight with Charlotte Hayes of the Independent Women's Forum. Charlotte, thank you for all your brilliance.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for y'all's brilliance.
Well, thank you. And I'll urge our listeners to go to the Ladies Can We Talk Facebook page. We'll post a link to this, what Independent Women's Forum is doing. It's wonderful. We're going to zip off to our break.